to Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine. This is your host, Catherine Whelan Costen, and I'm thrilled to be having a conversation with Shelly Dressel today. The intent of this show is to get real, talking to real people who are doing amazing things, shining a light on the new potentials and possibilities for us all. Shelley is just such a person. Shelley first began channeling in 1995 as a means of seeking a deeper connection to her own divinity, as well as to the angels, guides, and teachers who surrounded her. She is now known worldwide and works on a one-to-one basis with people in many countries. Shelley has been a registered nurse for most of her adult life. Her medical knowledge allows her to assist the angels as they work on people with physical problems. There have been many experiences where people have created shifts away from acute and long-term medical problems. This potential is there for everyone. Shelley and the angels can assist in releasing, realigning energies, and more, which can create a state of wellness. I love this. You can read Shelley's full bio on my website. It's extensive, it's amazing. But I wanted to highlight some of her very unique gifts here. When Shelley began receiving messages from her guides, she chose to talk with them directly, which evolved into the very clear channeling she does today. Through the years, she's channeled innumerable angels, teachers, masters, ETs, the dolphins, people's pets, and those who have crossed over. Early on, Shelley was drawn to the divine feminine energies, and in 2001, she brought through the goddess of creation, the feminine aspect of source energy. And this is really important because we're going to talk about that a bit today. This high vibrational energy was able to be communicated directly through humanity only since year 2000, when our planetary consciousness reached a frequency with which the goddess could interface. Shelley, you are a very real woman doing amazing things, so welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate having the opportunity to come and speak with you, Catherine. I remember working with you in the past, and as I said when we first connected today, it just gives it such a nice change or such a nice shift to be able to feel like we're talking face to face, like a couple of friends getting together for coffee, and I just love that.
It does feel like that. Thank you. And thank you. But thank you for taking the courage to, I think it does take a certain amount of courage to share your gifts with the world. I know you've been doing it for some time, so maybe it doesn't feel as courageous now, but surely it must have been initially when this first started happening to you. It had to have taken some courage.
Well, I have a really funny story that I like to share about that, and I call this my coming out, or my coming out of the closet.
Okay.
I had been channeling like I am now. Well, probably not like I am now, but at my foundation for probably 6 years or more. And I would talk to my close friends about it, and I'd talk to some people about it, but I wasn't really talking widely about it. And as you mentioned in my bio, I'm a registered nurse, and I still work in a traditional type of, well, it's not really traditional, it's radiology. But I was in a medical setting where it is traditional medicine and people are not really doing the type of thing I did. And a friend of mine said to me, I would give $1 million to be able to speak with John Edwards, who was here in town, to connect with her husband, who had crossed over. And I said to her, and this was in the middle of the workstation with probably about 6 or 8 people around, including a waiting room that was full of people. I said to her, oh, you don't need John Edwards for that. I'll be glad to do it for you. And when I said that, I literally turned around and looked behind me and I said, who said that? So, in other words, it was my angels, it was my higher self that said that. But me as the human person that I am, don't know if I ever would have said, okay, hey, now everyone, here I am, I'm putting out my shingle. So it took something that was like a nudge from behind, something that was bigger than me or more than me that kind of pushed me into that space.
But it was something higher than you that put you in that position.
That kind of nudged me along.
Yeah. And would you say then, too, that maybe it was because you were it was safe? It was a safe situation in order for you to...
Yes, it was a safe situation. I think that there was a part of me that knew that this was a place where I could do this. And this was a place where I could begin this journey. I had had an experience probably 4 or 5 years before that where I talked to somebody about getting Reiki treatments, and the medical doctor had said, don't do that. That is not, we don't believe in stuff like that. We don't do that. And so I felt as if in, say, 98 or 97, I was told, don't think like that, don't be like that. And so when you speak about a safe environment, I think that's absolutely the case, because I knew this was a different place, a different time, different people. And so there was a part of me that knew that it was okay to come out to talk about this, to be able to bring it forward. And what I was also starting to say is that I think this is what people have in their lives numerous different times, is that you have the opportunity to then say, I'm going to take this and run with it, or to say, you know what, I'm too scared, or I'm not quite ready, or this is not the right time, and continue turned around and not gone anywhere with this. So I think that's the most important key, is the fact that I chose to pick up the gauntlet, so to speak. I chose to pick up the opportunity, and that was really what I consider my leap forward, that then brought it out from doing things for me personally or close friends into something much more public. And I believe that was probably around 2001, something like that.
So do you think then it's because of the change on the planet? This is something that I was saying I wanted to kind of get into with you, is that this change in the consciousness on the planet, is that because what I'm trying to go to here is, years ago, was this even possible? That you say that the new energy came in 2001, or sorry, 2000. I mean, you were channeling prior to that, but not the goddess energy. Am I correct?
Correct. When I very first began to channel, it was probably starting with my higher self, and then it was with Archangel Michael, Saint Germain, Raphael, Archangel Raphael. Those kinds of were or Sananda. That was kind of like my core group that I first began communicating with, and that is still my foundation at this time. And then I don't know if I read a book or I had some friends over, and that's when I began to feel like, oh, there's a different source, there's a different energy, and which in essence is the goddess of creation. And when she very first began to speak with me, it was like in bits and pieces, and it felt like it was as if you kind of feel like an energy that's coming through a straw. And so the way she is now, she is immense. She's as big as the world. And our alignment is such that we are one. And so I recognize how this is, of course, it's been 10 years, 12 years. And so this is the transition that I think we all are going through. And back in 2008, there was another shift that allowed the world to move into the fourth dimension. And as the world moved into the fourth dimension, that then made available to those people, especially those that are already open and conscious and thinking about this, to then bring into their everyday life or their everyday reality essences of the fifth, sixth, and seventh dimension, whereas before 2000 and before some of these shifts in consciousness, things like that weren't as available. It would have been a very hard reach, and it would have been a struggle. So to me, that's what the ascension process is. It's something that's happening in the world, that it's affecting people, whether they are conscious of it or not. And then those that choose to make a decision, choose to say, well, I want to know what this is to me, what it means in my life, then it's wide open what you can do with it. And I can say that for myself, my own channeling has changed quite a bit over the last years, in part because I use it so much more, but I recognize in part because of the energies that are now available.
Do you think that, when you're channeling, I really want to get real into the deep on this, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are still confused, because there's people that talk about channeling, and there's people who say that it isn't, it's not happening. And for you, is it a physical experience? Can you share with the listeners and the viewers, what does it feel like? What is it any different than right now when you're talking to me? For you, is it, maybe bring us to when you first started doing it, how it felt as opposed to how it is now? Because I'm sure the initial thing is different than when you get used to it.
Right, absolutely. I'll be glad to. Back in the time, I did Reiki attunements, and the Reiki attunements really worked in opening up my energy field. And I worked with Reiki, and that's when I began to recognize how I was starting to hear things or get a feel for things, and I didn't really know where they were coming from or what it meant to me. So I was taking psychic development classes, and I'm just an inquisitive person. If there was anything at all that I was interested in, I took the class. So it was a wide variety of things, and some of it I've done more with it, some of it I've not, but it still are, to me, I consider things like that the tools in your tool bag. And nothing is lost, nothing is missed, nothing, everything has an impact upon you, be it conscious or unconscious. And so when I got to the point where I was recognizing that I was getting these sensations and I was hearing things and feeling things, then I said, well, I could become a quote unquote psychic and just begin to interpret those. And what I had a very strong feeling of doing instead of that was that I don't want to feel as if I'm interpreting something. I want to have direct conversations with thy guides, with these energies, with this essence, so that I feel as if it's a deeper connection. Because to me, it has always been about the connection. And when you speak about getting real and being real, that's exactly what it meant to me too. Because if I felt like I was just interpreting something, it wasn't real to me. And so that's why that's where this whole process, what it has been. So I took classes in opening the channel. I read books. I followed different people that I was interested in. Sanea Roman, she still has things up on Luminescence, and that was a big part of what I listened to. So for me, and actually I actually teach classes in this also, and I call it Opening the Channel and Expanding Consciousness. And I teach classes at various times during the year. They can be through the internet or through, maybe Skype or something like this. And so I think this is something that anybody can learn. I think that anybody has the ability to channel. I think that everybody already is open and is receiving information from, at the very minimum, their higher self, if not their divinity, their angels. It's just that they don't either recognize what they're already receiving, or they don't recognize their abilities that they already have. So I realize that I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit, and excuse me for that.
No, not at all. This is wonderful.
Okay, good. And so the way that I learned it was learning how to create a cord or an energy of light, like a column of light that was anchored inside of me, usually around my solar plexus. And then from there, that was directly open up into my higher self. And from there, I create like a pond of energy, or a pond. And it was like that pond was a conduit for creating a link in communication. And so that's how I would reach out to my guide or whomever it was I was seeking to communicate with. And so it was something that was up at the level of my higher self, bless you, that then streamed down inside of me, and then I spoke the words out. Oh, I take it back. I began first by automatic writing. So then I would write messages that I was receiving. And then when the messages got more than what I could write, it was as if, well, I'm getting a part of the message in writing, but I'm still missing something, that I began to audio, to speak the messages. And so that's how I got into this channel. And so now, and I can't even tell you specifically a period of time, but the way that I channel now is that link is always there. It's always open. The energies of my group, I can feel them around me now, so they're probably in and out of me and talking to you as I'm speaking to you. And so now it's as if they come in and they share the physical space of my body. And I talk about my human self as kind of shifting out. I always feel her like to the left. And this is what you might call your ego, your personality. This is what you might call your human expression of your divinity. And so that part of me sits on my left side, and it's essential, because that's what interprets the messages that I hear. That's what interprets the images that I see, all these various energies that come in. And so while it might be, say for example, Archangel Michael, say he's coming in and he's the one that's speaking with you, it's like, sometimes I consider it like a chunk of energy. and I call it a download, like you get a download on your computer. Well, that download then has to come from that chunk that's in the divine, that's in the higher vibrations. It has to be interpreted, and it has to come through me, and then it has to be spoken out through me. And so that's why, again, I have that sense of myself as sitting beside me as the anchor, as the interpreter, as the speaker.
So,
and then when
Shelley, just to, so you don't ever go away. You're always present.
Correct, and that's a great thing. I'm a conscious channel. And what I mean by a conscious channel is that I'm fully conscious of everything that's happening when I'm channeling. I'm fully conscious of seeing the tree outside my room. I'm fully conscious of seeing my dog in the corner of the room. And yet I'm still also conscious of seeing the higher dimensions, the higher vibrations, those levels. So it's as if I see both, everything at the same time. And then that's what gets, and it's through the director, the guided focus, that, yes, I'm aware of these things around me, but where the focus is on what's being channeled, the information, the energy, the things like that.
Okay, so, excuse me, and you say that anyone can, or we can do that now. And what I'm wondering is, I heard it said one time that people that are channeling these other entities, or what, for lack of a better word, angels and so forth, that these other parts are actually parts of us anyway. They're like, we're part of the one. So everything is all part of us. So they're not actually totally and completely separate from you anyway. It's just that when you expand the way you have, you're bringing in more of you in the different unique personalities with that. Am I even close to to where that might be?
I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're also saying, and yes, indeed, that is a part of it, but I have to disagree in the fact that sometimes the energies that I'm channeling are completely separate soul essence. They're completely separate energies from me. It is not me, because I can feel what is me, and I can feel what is not me. And you were asking earlier, do I have physical sensations? Yes. Absolutely. There are times when I become like I speak of it as my back is just soaking wet in sweat, and it's like a heat and a warmth that comes through me and is speaking, and that's like when a really powerful or strong energy is speaking through me, and it's mostly actually about the fact that their vibration is different than my own vibration, and so that is what is. That's what causes a person to have those physical reactions. The other thing that I have that's very physical is when I get done with the channel, oftentimes I'm very cold. It's like I've had that warmth of that energy in me, and then when they shift back into their space and I'm back in myself again, I'm actually sometimes shivering with my teeth chattering. And so it can be a very physical response as this is all taking place. Well, and that's another gauge that not only I can use, but that other people can use as an indicator that that it's not you. Because the thing that so many people say is, well, it's just me, and I'm just hearing things because it's just what I want to hear. Right. Well, when you're connected to your higher self and you're connected to your divinity and you're listening to that and you're in alignment with that, then that just means you're in alignment with what's in your best interest. So if you're hearing things or you're feeling things and it feels good to you and you like it, then that's a cha-chink. Yep, I'm in alignment with my divinity. I'm listening to my higher self, and I'm moving and I'm following what's needed or what's intended.
Right, because you also in your bio, I was mentioning that you have the ability to talk to people or that have crossed over.
Exactly.
So everyone that comes to you is probably, those entities are not you. That's for sure.
Correct.
They're
Correct.
Their own unique aspects. I mean, I do get that we're all part of the one. Everything is part of God, but there are unique differentiations in personalities and in our aspects, right?
Right, and there are indeed multiple aspects of everyone alive or not alive. There are lots of aspects. And but for example, if I'm channeling, say, Sananda, who is the oversoul for Jesus, Buddha, Abraham, Krishna, all of the world religions come from the same source essence, and that source essence is known as Sananda. And so,
wow,
when
that's something that's noteworthy, Shelley. That's noteworthy.
Oh.
No wonder
And I'm like, oh, well, doesn't everybody know that?
Well, no wonder there's so many similarities that, we say that there's a theme, but no, I don't think everybody knows that at all. I think that's...
Okay. Well, and I actually, I can't tell you where it is right offhand, but first of all, on my website, which is www.goddesslight.net, I have years and years of channels, and there was a channel that was speaking directly with Sananda in which he spoke about this, and he spoke about the aspect of him that's Abraham, the aspect of him that's Muhammad, the aspect of him that's Krishna, and how everything is related, and that each religion was created because there were different peoples with different needs and different focuses, and so I find that to be a very interesting thing. It's another example of how we're not so very different from one another.
Yes.
It is indeed true, and it is indeed important to honor and take in our differences as a contrast, because that's very important to know. But the other thing that's important to know is that underneath it all, and when they speak of God, are they talking to Sananda? When they speak of God, are they talking to the source that's even bigger than Sananda, or an even broader essence of energy? And, I think all of that is just a personal perception. There's no right or wrong to it.
Right. But having a deeper understanding, and like I say, my focus for creating this radio show is because I've seen that, there is an opportunity for this new energy is here. In my belief, we're headed for this golden age, and there's tools available, and for some people, they're not accessing the tools out of their fear of many things: fear of being different, fear of being something odd, fear of rejection if they do things. And even with my work, some people think it's it's crazy, but my purpose is to bring forward people that are like you. You're a woman in the world. You're having a physical experience, but you're also able to access spirit. And what I'm asking you is, isn't that what we're meant to be, is to be connected as well as having a physical experience? Is that not our natural, I don't know in the past if it was natural, but isn't that where we're headed, to be able to evolve to the point where we keep our connection to source and have the physical experience?
I absolutely agree with you, because we are, when you have disconnected from your source essence, from your divinity, that's when you die. And that's what happens as when a person's physical body is done with this lifetime and they transition out, then that's when that cord that links you to your divinity returns back up into your divinity. So you are always, always, always aligned with your divinity. And the key that I see that's allowing people to find if you want to call it finding the meaning of life, that find a greater balance in their life, that find out what's really most important to them in their life. The key to doing all of that is through finding that integration that allows your divinity to come in and be in focused and balanced aspect or means of living your life, that it's balanced with your human reality.
So,
because I remember back in the 90s, there were so many people that were talking about wanting to get rid of the ego or diminish the ego, and that the ego is bad and divinity is good. And that was actually a part of my own process, was finding that. And but what I came to realize, and there was always something about it that just didn't quite set with me, our ego is the representation of our human self. It's not our total human self, because our human self is more than that, but it's sometimes the equivalent of us as we're living our physical lives. And so to me, everything in life is about the balance. It's about the balance with your divinity and your ego. It's about the balance of your truth with knowing who you are. And I think that's the key of what I want to, of what I'm trying to teach for people, and of what I do when we do private sessions or something like that, is helping each person to find out what is their truth, what is their reality, and how can that become more a part of their life. And my take on that is that it becomes more a part of your life by expanding or strengthening your alignment to your divinity and to your higher self and to that part of you that recognizes that you are more than just this physical reality. And I think that's very much a part of what the shift that's taking place is about, is the recognition of that and the greater ease for bringing that into your reality.
So with so much more light, so much more energy, a positive kind of, I don't know, even want to call it positive, but it does feel positive, lighter energy available to us now. What do you think about what's going on in the world? The Occupy Wall Streets, the chaos that seems to be more prevalent that we're more aware of, the rise of people's, I'm going to call it their fed up gauge. They've had enough of the disconnect. Maybe it's disconnect from source. What do you think, from a spiritual point of view, is I'm trying to tie together the social, the political, the spiritual, because I think that they've been separated long enough. We need to have spiritually conscious people involved in our political systems, developing our social systems so that we can live together in harmony. That's kind of my thoughts on that. What do you think about?
And I agree. I think that's a good way of looking at it. And my belief and what is spoken through me, especially by the goddess, is that first and foremost, ultimately, the world is a good place. The world is a place for people to be able to experience themselves, and the world was created in such a way that with this complete free will, that people can create their reality from something as horrible and small and, mean, awful, or something that's pure bliss in every walking moment or every given moment of their life. And the truth of the matter is that the majority of people are somewhere in between that. There are very few people that are totally one end of the spectrum or the other. And people in their living their everyday life, it's like a pendulum. There may be times they're over here, there may be times they're over there. And so what is happening is that, number one, I think that more and more people are thinking in terms of what is real for me, what's going to make me, I guess one of the ways that I say it is the truth will come out. And so that's one of the reasons why you see people saying, I've been in this relationship for years and years, but it's no longer going to work for me, because they cannot hide from themselves that they have been unhappy or that there have been problems. It's now got to be something that is more real to them, something that makes them happy, and something that really resonates with them. So you take that from an individual perspective and you put it into your community, and then you put it into your state, and then your country, and then the world. And all of those are variations of, from something very small to something very big. And I think this is what's happening. And as that mindset and as that becomes the reality for people, then those things that are out of kilter are going to come up to the forefront. And that's why people say, but there's more brutality than ever. The wars are still going on. Well, it's coming up to be cleansed. It's coming up to be a focus in your eyes, and have people say, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to do that anymore. I want a change. And so some of these things may take years and years and years to accomplish. Other of these things can take a much shorter period of time. And one of the things that I believe...
We can change them individually, though. We have, like you said at the beginning, so there is an individual choice.
Yes.
So I can experience bliss if I so choose.
Correct. And if you create that reality for yourself, and then if you accept it, because that's a key part of this. So many people say, I'm creating my bliss, I'm doing this, but I'm still unhappy. So absolutely, you're creating it, but you're not accepting it into yourself. You're not accepting it as your reality. Instead, you're staying distracted and you're staying over in that space. I just got done working with someone who I've known for a long time, and there's so much beautiful, bright light and energy around her, and she's asking for it and she's bringing it in. But yet, in her mind's eye, her reality is that it's not working. It hasn't worked. I don't know why I keep going this route. Why don't I just give up? Let me just get it, let it go. So the key is about recognizing that, yes, I have done the work. Yes, I have brought it in. Yes, I am asking for it. So now I'm going to accept it. And when you accept it, it may not be it. For some people, it can be that immediately, la 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 la, the birds are singing, the lights come on, everything is joyful. But for most people, it's going to be that point A and point B are exactly the same. So it's a choice you make on a daily basis, as if you may go inside of yourself and say 6 times a day, I am open to receive. I am accepting that I am bigger than I am now, that I have the resources available, that I am going to bring this into my life. And this is what I want. This is what I choose. I accept and I allow. And I know that the Goddess has several different channels on there, on the website also, about accepting and allowing, where she speaks of that specifically and how that's how to really create the change in your focus in your life.
So does
that resonate with you?
Yes, that's absolutely. And I think that's an important point to make, Shelley, is that people can go to your website and to, it doesn't matter where you're at on your path. I think for me anyway, I've read your, the channels many times, and it doesn't matter where you are as far as, awakened spiritually and that kind of thing. Wherever you're at is where that message will still resonate. It doesn't seem to matter if it's a couple of years old or wherever. So you can follow it for your own purpose.
Exactly. And you're bringing up something else, Catherine, that I just remembered. Back in the 90s, when I was first opening up to this, I kept getting this sense that I was going to do something really big and that I was going to be well known. And I immediately went into fear. And I thought, oh my God, I can't save the world again. And so how many people have had that sense inside of themselves, I've got to save the world? Well, now I believe 100% that the world does not need to be saved. And it's not about any one person, quote unquote, saving the world. It's about each person on their personal path and their personal choices in their life and their personal opening up and accepting of who they are and their potentials and choosing to be in a space of bliss, so to speak. Then that is going to change the energy and the vibration around that person, which is going to move out and change it around that. And then like vibration finds like vibration. So suddenly you have a whole group of people worldwide that are in that same vibration that is about believing in yourself, opening to yourself, loving yourself, accepting yourself, allowing yourself to be as magnificent as you want to be. And that's what is creating the shift in the collective consciousness. And that's what's allowing for the ultimate potential for whether you call it world peace or world divinity or whatever it is. And so indeed, we are all having an effect upon the world through our own personal experience. And all of the people that are stuck in that route or stuck in that rut that's about life is a struggle, life is pain, life is hurt, I can never get what I want, then that's going to create a vibration that is in alignment with that. So to create a change in your life, it's making that conscious choice to take, and I sometimes even picture it as like step, step, step. Okay, now I'm going to look. So that it gets you completely out of the energy or the space of where you are that's not feeling good. And then ultimately what I believe that if you say, well, how do I know if I'm on my divine path? How do I know if it's working? How do I know if it's connecting? You feel good. Yeah. That's the resonator, that it feels good. It makes you feel happy. And anything that is outside of feeling good and happy, then you're outside of your space of balance.
Yeah. I really resonate with that. That's how it feels to me also. And, I know from my history, I thought I was kind of recruited into the political stream and I, worked in the political system for a while because I thought that it was my responsibility. If I had certain gifts and tools and talents, whatever, then I needed to do it. But the problem was I was using a system that didn't support my specific gifts and talents. I wanted to be in integrity, in light. I wanted to, and the system itself is a battleground. And although I had learned I grew up with, there were 5 children in our family, I knew how to debate. I was the smallest, and so I knew how to debate. I mean, being physical wasn't really an option. I had to use my voice. So I knew how to do that. But, it became part, I moved in and out. I went in through the political door, and then I came back out the other side with a new understanding. One, that it wasn't going to create that world, that beautiful, exquisite, light-filled, harmonious world, not because my intentions weren't strong enough, but because I was using an old system. And that's where I would like people to understand, is that we can't keep, it is that Einstein saying. I use it all the time because it's so true. We cannot solve the problems by using the same mindset that we created the problems in. So we have to change the mindset. And I'm even going to go further and change our heart set and connect to our mind.
Yes. And your mind is a way of expressing your human reality. Your mind is not your divinity. And so anytime you want to create a true change in your life, you have to do so from finding the alignment with your higher self and finding the alignment with your divinity, because that's the only thing that knows something different than what your current reality is. But as your ego, or as your mental body, or as your belief system, all of those like what it knows. It likes what it likes. And so to truly create change, and again, that's talking like left brain, right brain. All of those things are aligned with your left brain, the analytical aspect of you. And so your right brain is the part of you that goes into abstract, that goes into your imagination. And so all of your divinity and all of those things are coming down through your right brain, which is why when I spoke at the beginning about channeling, it's my left side that shifts out and holds the anchor and holds the space. And then the energy is all coming in through my right side. And, that's just, again, another perspective of how I channel.
But so if, when people want to work with you, I know, you work with groups and you work with individuals, and you can do it distantly too. Over the phone, we worked distantly a few years ago.
Exactly. And there are very few people I work with in person. It kind of makes me laugh.
Well, that's the thing. It feels like the world's getting smaller. I was thinking about that today. I mean, it's like, you're right. It's like you're living next door. It doesn't matter where we are living. We are still communicating as if we are right next door, or in the physical.
And the key is that it's all energy. Your energy, I'm energy, and the link that I create, I think of it as like a bridge, and the group and the soul essence, the group energy that I work with creates a bridge that goes from me to that person. In fact, we have it going on right now. I can feel the energies, and I'm sure you can too. And so you can create a link with someone, and that's why people don't have to be physically present. That's why, like, say, for example, you have a loved one, and you're thinking about them, and they may not be physically present with you, but bringing them into your heart, thinking about them, embracing them, it will oftentimes make you feel good. And then how often does that person say, "Oh, it felt like you were thinking about me today," or
Yes.
I could feel you thinking about me, and that's what people do. And so again, that's an unconscious way in which people are already working with energy. And so when you shift it into something that you are choosing to do and you're very conscious of, that's what makes the difference.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I'm encouraged by is that you are able to reach people, but you have so many tools to work with. It's not just the channeling. You understand energy. You understand the physical body. You understand our connection to spirit, so that a person doesn't have to know what they need from you necessarily. Am I correct? They could say, I've got this particular situation happening in my life, and I'd like some help with it. And then you could help them to either through channeling, or, I guess there's situations where a person maybe feels hurt or abandoned by, let's say, their parent, and that parent is dead. So I suppose they could do, some healing work by connecting to the person on the other side, or some such things. Like, would you select the tool, not the thing they need healed? They have to come to that themselves. Am I correct?
There's so much that I was thinking about as you were talking about that I wanted to share. First and foremost, every healing that occurs in a person is that person's work, meaning that it can only occur if that person is open, accepting, and allowing. So I consider us a facilitator. So because we're not you, we're not directly, we're not in your space or in your shoes, we have the ability to see things from a different perspective. And plus we come in from the perspective of your higher self and from your divinity. So we're able to see alternatives that you might not be able to see. So in a private session with someone, it can be a conversation about things as simple as what's happening in my life, what opportunities, what potentials do you see? And if someone asks me that question, there are times in which it's just totally blank. And we'll say, well, take in a breath, consciously open up your heart, and then it still feels blank. So what's happening is that I'm working with someone who is shut down and they're not allowing us to come in. We have to be a person, in order to create change in their life or receive information, has to be open to allow that or to access that. And so then I would say 9 out of 10 times, it honestly, quite frankly, doesn't happen that often. I can only think of like 2 times in the last 5 years. But anyway, the point is that there are times when people need to make a conscious decision to be open, to accept, and to allow. And so then, as we come in, we can look at things. Everything that's happened in your life has created some sort of a signature pattern within you. And so when we talk about releasing, oftentimes it's as if the emotion of, you were talking about abandonment or not having a good relationship with someone and then they die, and that feeling of unresolved issues. So it creates an energy packet within you. Sometimes that can be why you have that pain in your hip, that pain in your back, that, there can be a lot of physical symptoms that are due to an energetic foundation. And like Louise Hay, everything is based in your emotions. And so I can many times see that there is a physical, mental, emotional link, and I can sometimes see that things are like a block of energy that someone is carrying around. So we can connect with that block. We can help a person release that block. We can help them to let it go. And by letting it go, it's like you're getting a new beginning and you're getting a new start to go forward from there. Say, for example, you have a relationship with your child, and you're not letting go of that child. That child's going to be in your life, but the two of you are knocking heads. You're not really connecting with one another. Well, you can disconnect that relationship that you have going on right now and create a new one that starts from a space that's heart-centered, that's more open, that allows for new beginning. And so this is another thing that can be done in something like this.
That people can do with you.
I call that actually, I'm sorry, excuse me.
That people can do with you.
I call that soul communication, and I have a whole meditation that people can listen to that helps to facilitate that.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. So I'm sure that there are people who are listening who are probably wondering if Shelley's channeling now. And, I really notice that when you speak, how the spirit comes in and out, because sometimes you say I, and sometimes you say we. And it's very interesting. So, but I'm wondering then if you would like to channel goddess energy at this time, and if there's a special message for either people listening, or how you might want to do. I think people are curious to see and I want people to see what it really is, as opposed to what movies and so forth have portrayed this kind of channeling is. If you're willing, Shelley, that would be fantastic for however long you wish to channel.
I'm absolutely willing. I'm excited. I love to do this, and that shows you very good listening skills that you have, that you picked up on that, because most people don't really even pick up on that. So excellent. Good on you there, Catherine.
I don't just talk.
And the other thing that I want to share with you before I begin that I have really enjoyed is I've been looking at the computer screen here, and I'm looking at you. I want to say that the shades of color go from teal to purple to white to, there are all these different colors that are changing and moving through the screen as I'm looking at you. And I would be curious to see, if other people may see that also, or if you have a sense of that, or if it comes out on the video when you post it.
Yeah, that will be interesting. Aha.
Okay, so give me just a second here, and I'm going to link with the goddess, and I'll start in just a moment. We greet you. We thank you for taking this opportunity to invite all of us in. And yes, the goddess is here, but this is also Shelley's group, and everyone wanted to come forward and have a chance to speak.
Wonderful. Welcome.
We love humanity. We love people. We love to speak through Shelley. We love any sort of situation like this. So when it comes up, especially for an interview such as this, there's like a note that goes out, Shelley's going to be talking on an interview, watch out. And so it's like there's this huge crowd of energy that have come in to say, I want to talk, I want to talk. So yes, indeed, there are a lot of people here. And we wanted to talk about one of the things that you had brought up yourself earlier. You were talking about, is everyone the same soul essence, and is everything an aspect of Shelley that's speaking through to you? We would like you to know that we are all individual souls in terms of the energies that are speaking. And the link to Shelley comes through a like vibration. So when people speak of, is it an aspect of them that's talking? It's that aspect of them that is able to align with the essence. For example, if it's say like I'm the spokesperson, and if we'll just share with you, just kind of going around with the circle. I have Mother Mary beside me on the side here. Next to her is Archangel Raphael. Next to him is Archangel Michael. We have Saint Germain directly across, and then coming up this side, there's an energy of Sananda. And the goddess of creation is always right on the right here. And I am a no name. I call myself no name because I am not any one particular essence, but I am the blending of all these essence and the direct link and vibration with Shelley. So I am indeed merged with Shelley right now and speaking to you. And that's how there's no delay. It's not that I have to interpret. I am interpreting what's being said, but because I'm blended with her, I'm able to speak to you directly. And so I just wanted, we all wanted to let you know that that it's important to know that all of us come from a specific soul essence. We all have an alignment with one another. In the all that is, there is that direct alignment that everybody finds that common denominator or that common space of creation. With the goddess of creation, when she does the teleconference with Shelley, that is the part of the all that is creating in joy, in love, in awareness. There are other aspects of the all that is based in pain, sorrow, the victim, suffering. And so those people that are caught up in that will find a link or an alignment with someone else that's in a like alignment. So when you as anyone who's listening, you as anyone who's considering these various questions, when you think of how am I creating in my life, ask yourself that question. Am I right now creating through suffering because I have so much pain in my heart? I have so much physical pain in my body. And I don't want that anymore. I'm tired of it. Been there, done that. I'm ready to move on. So then you learn how to consciously move into a different space. Everybody has the ability to live their life through love, to live their life through compassion, to live their life through awareness. It is here. It is present for you. And it's simply a matter of where's the majority of your vibration, where's the majority of your focus. We love you. We love you, love you, love you. We believe in humanity. We believe in everybody who's on the earth at this time. You asked the question earlier about how do things go from the political ramifications into everyone's individual reality. The political system is changing. How many times, look around the world, how many things have happened that in the past may have been covered up and now no longer, the truth is out. People are noticing it. People are calling them on it and saying, I'm not going to accept that anymore. And this is happening again and again. And we know and we feel the compassion for all of you that said, it's not fast enough. We get that. And we know that people want things to happen more quickly. And the thing that is important for everyone to recognize is that it becomes a snowball effect. There's been so much more that's taken effect than what you even realize. And it gets to the point where suddenly it seems like boom, everything is done and happened. And it's because there have been years and years and years that have created a foundation of change that's created a new parameter. And the new parameter that you were speaking of that needs to be in place in order to have this be more effective for people, it's there. And it's like it's there. It's around the energy of the countries and the world. It's just a matter of allowing it to come down into the everyday reality. And that will take place when the collective consciousness has shifted into a space that's of a like vibration.
Well,
does this resonate with you, beloved?
Yes, it does. And I was just going to say that change, if it happened too quickly, we probably couldn't handle that either. I mean, I know the chaos is painful for
exactly.
many. Yeah. So,
you're breaking up, so we can't hear specifically what you're saying, but we do get the gist of it, and that brings up a very good point. In 1987, with that concordic convergence, or whatever those words are, that was when the consciousness of the Earth made a decision: we are not going to blow up the world through nuclear bombs. And that was when the Cold War ended. That was when things began to shift. There have been many different steps, probably at least 4 different steps since that time, when the collective consciousness says, no, we're not going to do that. We want to live and we want a new beginning. And so those are the stair steps that are taking place as the consciousness is ascending and as things are changing upon the earth. So if you find yourself getting caught up in the emotion or feeling the negativity or feeling like things are not happening fast enough, make a decision to say, I'm not going to stay there. Instead, I'm going to let my focus be on the belief that the change is happening. It may not be as quick as I want, but I believe in the future. I believe in the reality. I believe in these energies. Does that resonate, beloved?
Yes, that it does. And I was just going to say that if the people realizing that we are actually choosing our reality, that in fact is true. We are choosing it, and we've all chosen, like you said, at a collective level, that we want something better. So that and am I right that Spirit is supporting humanity to come to that?
Exactly. That's absolutely correct, and we agree with that completely. And the first thing that comes to mind is the Twin Towers on 9/11, the tsunami, the earthquakes, these various things where you have large numbers of people dying. What happens is everyone who dies in those situations were a part of the agreement that they were going to be a part of something bigger, that something that was going to happen to affect humanity. Even going back to World War II with the Jews and the concentration camps, that created an immense rift in the heaviness of the collective consciousness, and that was pivotal. And the energy of that was pivotal in the changes that are taking place right now. So you can look at all of these various things and think, oh my goodness, the number of people that die, and absolutely it pulls at your heartstrings. Absolutely you feel compassion for everybody that's left behind and for the changes that creates in their reality. But the truth of the matter is that when there are things like this that happen, it creates an immense vortex in that one space. And through that vortex, it allows more of this higher universal energy to come in and become anchored in the earth. And that's why, if you think about it, these are various places all around the world. And that's a part of what is creating the physical shift in energy that's taking place. Yes. There is absolutely a much greater amount of the feminine energy in the world. And that's what's creating many of these potentials for people to express compassion. That's what's bringing up the way of looking at the world. And it's also bringing up a greater balance because the feminine has been abused for so long. And like, to me, when I think of Lemuria, I think of a very balanced energy and a very balanced, feminine dominated, well, actually both feminine and masculine, but it came into me as more predominantly feminine. And then, and it was very peaceful, it was very loving, it was very co-creative. And people got kind of bored with that. And so they wanted to find out things differently. And so the time of Atlantis is the time when things shifted into more of the male domination, because then it went into control, trying to control lasers, trying to control crystals, trying to control people, trying to manipulate people. And that kind of mindset, that control, manipulation and stuff like that is kind of the representation of Atlantis. And because it got so out of balance, that's why Atlantis fell and it sank. And so then now all these thousands of years since that time has been about trying to get back and find a greater amount of alignment or a greater amount of balance. And so with this input of the feminine energies and bringing in much more of the feminine energies, it's doing so as a means of of creating the balance. So men are feeling their feminine side and feeling more of that compassion and feeling their emotions more when they've been told forever, don't feel it, don't be emotional, don't be that way. And so that's another example or expression of how the feminine aspect is becoming stronger in men. So too, it's becoming stronger in women, or perhaps the masculine aspect is becoming stronger in women because it's trying to create a balance. Because ultimately, that's what people are seeking to have, that they have their feminine aspects, their masculine aspects, and it's all good, and you may at some time be one way or the other, but ultimately you are in balance. And that's what the ascension process has been overspoken. Basically, it's about people finding their reality, finding what works for them, finding what is real for them in their lives. And so this is but another way of expressing that. And I absolutely believe that that the feminine energy is much stronger on the earth than what it was, say, 10 to 15 years ago, especially 20 or 25 years ago. In fact, one time I remember, it's just coming to me now, like the hippie movement in the 60s, that
Right.
peace, love, and that was the opening of the feminine energies. That was the beginning of the opening up of the heart center. And so it was expressed in that way. And then again, the pendulum swung and people were like, oh no, you're not productive enough. A commune isn't going to work. That's not. So they became back a little bit more rigid again. And so the way that I see this pendulum going back and forth is that it's, instead of having wide swings from one side to the other, it's a much subtler, it's much more subtle. And then when someone is in balance, they will flow one way or the other at any given moment, and it'll flow back and forth between them. But ultimately, they're connected to their divinity. They're living their life as their divinity. They're expressing themselves as their divinity, and in a balanced fashion.
Okay,
does that?
Yeah, that it does. And what it brings to my mind is what you're saying is we made a choice, Lemuria, then Atlantis, and now we're saying we're not going to blow up the planet. We are actually planning to take this experiment called humanity and evolve. Maybe that's what ascension is, really just evolution.
Exactly. And one of the things that the goddess has said in a past channel was that when the earth was going through a ascension process, that at some time in history, we had the ice age. So the earth could not sustain it.
Okay.
Because there was not enough consciousness on the earth. So the earth took over and had the ice age. And all those various things in history that you look at, that was all shifts in consciousness taking place in the physical earth itself. So now people say, man, there are billions of people upon the earth, way more than there's ever been before. Well, it's because we wanted to have enough consciousness upon the earth to be able to do this transformation without having another ice age or something like that was going to wipe out humanity, without having the nuclear explosion. That's not to say there might be skirmishes and all these other things. That's not to say just ignore anybody that has that. It's all providing opportunities for people to work with situations, whether it's governments from one country to another, whether it's people individually. All of that is an opportunity for change. But the world, we've done it. It's already happened. And it's only going to become more and more and more prevalent.
So we are on a path that we can live on planet Earth for a number of years. The idea that we can't sustain 7 billion people is probably not true. I mean, I've always wondered that when you look at the planet, really, it's just that we have to do things better.
Correct. Things have to change in how we do things. Absolutely, the world can sustain this many people, or they wouldn't be here. There are so many natural resources that are not even being tapped into as yet. And again, when you were asking, is this Shelley? Is this the group? This is the group again. We had that little disconnect there, but we've just kind of shifted back inside. So we're saying that the Earth is not left alone. The Earth is a very pivotal part of the whole galaxy. There are extraterrestrials that are coming in to help. There are other parts of the universe that are creating a balance by the vibration of one world to another world. There is the water. There's the grass. We could go on and on. You know what your natural resources are. So don't be concerned if you think, well, we're losing all the ice, or there's nuclear warming, or whatever they call that warming, global warming. What it is transformation in life. And there's transformation in the world. And this is what's been taking place for millions and millions of years. It's a normal process. This is the first time that it's taken place in a dramatic way, with the consciousness and the ability to communicate worldwide, and with the ability for people to analyze it and say, well, in this year, this happened, so that's creating the precedence for this. You know, all of these things that are happening and taking place of that are the result of the expansion of humanity and the expansion of what's going on.
So do you then, would spirit be goddess energy, or would there be a recommendation? Is there a right or wrong way for us to do this individually, collectively?
That we didn't understand that. We just heard something about God and individuals.
Is there a right or a wrong way for people to live in this age? I mean, is there an understanding that we have to do certain things to survive now, or does it?
No,
or it doesn't matter?
Mm-hmm. No, the right way is the way in which things feel good. The wrong way is when things feel bad. And so there are still going to be a number of people that are in that mode of suffering, lack, and things like that. And some could say, well, that's balancing the other end of the spectrum. You know, we're not going to analyze it like that. Ultimately, we believe in the world. Ultimately, we believe in humanity. Ultimately, we believe that change is taking place, and it's going to take time before it gets to the place of what you're seeking. And we're opening up a whole new bag of worms here, but the new Earth is a place that many people have heard about. It is a planet that has now been discovered by your scientists, and they even are exploring it. It looks very similar to your physical Earth. It has the gravitational pull. It has the water. It has the trees. It has all those things that are so beautiful about your Earth. But people that have ascended past, say, the 6th, 7th, 8th dimension, you can live an earthly experience without all of the lower dimensional things, such as the war, the poverty, the things like that. You can live it by living, by moving into that space. And that's what people have, and that's what people are doing. There's a group of people, or there is a mindset of people that think that with the 2012 at the end of this year, that people are going to wake up and they're just going to be in the new Earth and they're not going to be here anymore. Like they go to sleep one place, wake up in another. It's not going to happen like that. Nobody is going to be wrenched away from their reality and put in a different reality. Family members are not going to wake up and say, "Where's Joe? He was here yesterday. Where'd he go?" Because what would that prove to anybody? You know, that's just going to create distrust, fear, anxiety. So that is not at all the way that this transformation is going to take place. It's going to take place in consciousness. It's going to take place with the choices that people are making. And many people that are in a space that they can flow from one to the other will be doing so. And if anything, it's just going to be more of the expanded consciousness.
Wow. That's beautiful. So we don't have to concern ourselves that in 2012, December 21st or whatever, we're blowing ourselves up or chaos, because I wasn't planning to, but I've got. I must say, what's funny to me is that most human beings understand they could die tomorrow. They could just die for any reason. They could. And yet, if you talk about the world, or the end of the world, they get in a panic because it's the same result. I don't know why that causes so much panic. I've never understood that, because either way, you're gone.
Exactly. It's tapping into one part or a part of the collective consciousness that is aligned with fear, that's aligned with the fear of the unknown, that's aligned with what one could say mass hysteria. And so it's almost as if in people's DNA and in people's makeup, it was put forth, here's the opportunity. And that is very true. That is how people set up their lives. I'm going to have this opportunity and this opportunity and this. And so knowing that this time of 2012 was coming about, it's got a trigger in many, many people's consciousness. And that trigger may be interpreted as fear, or that trigger may be interpreted as, hey, I want to look at my life. I want to look at what's going on. I want to look at what else is happening, and through that, it can create change. So change is here. Change is happening, and the Mayan calendar doesn't end on December 21st, 2012. The Mayan calendar shifts into the higher dimension, which was the expected potential of the next wave or the next years of experience.
Right. So people are. I guess what I'm thinking is people can choose to stay on planet Earth and to live their bliss, regardless of if there's a whole lot of other people choosing to live in chaos or war. I guess what I feel is there's a part of, for myself, if I'm going to believe and choose a life that is prosperity and abundance for all, and create heaven on my earth, and to my way of saying it is to let God express itself through me in the most abundant, prosperous, fun, loving way. Can I have that experience at the same time as someone else is having another experience that is in the lower dimension because they're choosing to, and that I would have compassion, but I don't need to join in their lower dimensional party, and I can still have my experience. Am I on the right track?
Absolutely.
It is a choice.
And that's exactly about the choice of the free will. That's exactly about it's ultimately, are you connecting into that other person or to that belief system or to that experience, or are you staying in the space of your reality, and you can see there, you can observe it, but you're not going to energetically be connected to it. Okay. So that's why, that's the beauty of planet Earth, is that you do have these myriad of different experiences that people are having, and everyone has the ability to have their own personal experience, but nobody else has to tap into that experience if they don't want to.
Okay. Wow, we've covered a lot of territory, Shelley, and you've given us a lot of your time, which I really appreciate. So what I want to do is, first of all, is there anything else that you feel really that your whole group in the room there wants to share? If there's something else, I'll give you the time for that, and then we can close up.
Okay. So we are coming back within, Shelley, speaking to you directly once more, and bringing our message to bring this to a close for this time. We want you to know that you are never alone. We want you to know that you are pure love. You are love. You are loved. You are appreciated. You are not just dropped upon this earth and left to fend for yourself. There is so much available to you and around you, and I invite you to open up and experience that and allow that to come into your life. This is an opportunity that you may choose for yourself. And we always suggest to you that you choose the route of love, you choose the route of experiences that bring you joy, and that you choose the route that ultimately feels good. Because life is about feeling good and feeling excited and feeling joyful. We are ever with you, Ansa Luia.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Spirit. I appreciate that so much. And I'm just going to ask this because this has been bugging me for years. What does Ansa Luia mean?
That is something that the goddess gave me back in probably 2003 or 4, and she just started saying Ansa Luia. Everyone is familiar with Namaste.
Yes.
It means the Christ in me sees the Christ in you. And Ansa Luia is that same idea, but it takes it to a deeper level, and it's of a different vibration. Because basically Ansa Luia is saying, I am my divinity, and as my divinity, I can reflect back to you, and I can support you as your divinity. So it's the same essence of that, but rather than the Christ in me, the Christ in you, it's about each person being the full person as they are and integrating their full self and saying, I am open, I accept, I receive myself as I am. And from that space, I see you and I appreciate you and I love you.
So Ansa Luia, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's just been one of those things that you've said it and I've heard it and then I think, what does that mean? Is it like I love you in a different language or
Exactly.
So I'm so glad I asked you that. Shelley, I am so grateful for you and for you giving us your time and for sharing this with people. And I want to encourage people to. It's so easy to work with you, Shelley. You make it so comfortable. You know, you take away not the mystery and the magic is still there, which I love that. But you make it comfortable. You know.
Well, thank you.
So I really want to encourage people, if you feel this resonates with you, and because, you know, Shelley has the gifts, the tools to bring forward to help you, and you have workshops, and you have individual work, and you have teleconferences, you have so many options for people, and if I remember correctly, you're very affordable as well, which is nice.
Yes, so thank you.
Yeah, you just make it so easy. So people can go to your website, which is www.goddesslight.com. I believe I have it
.net.
.net, sorry. Beg your pardon. I believe I have it on my website, and I also have it on the Blog Talk. When we do it on the Blog Talk, it's on there so that people can see. Okay.
So thank you, Catherine, as always, for having me here. It's been my pleasure and my joy to be able to talk with you in such a manner, to share our morning coffee together. And to anybody else who's listening to this, I send my hello out to you and wish you good day.
Thank you, Shelley. That's fantastic. This is Let's Get Real Chattin' with Catherine, and I'm sure that we're going to have Shelley back on in the near future. So, and we look forward to that. Let's get real. Are you ready? It's time.